Welcome to Pause for the Truth, where you can sit back, relax, and hear an honest dialogue about health, wealth, legal, and social issues. The hosts are Dr. Rogers Kane, family practice physician, and Jocelyn Turner, health education consultant, with co hosts from the Northeast Florida Medical Society and its foundation. Stay tuned for the truth about matters affecting you and your family. We're here to tell you what's really going on and why. Good evening and welcome to the 208th episode of Pause for the Truth. Yes, we've been doing this so long till it's just unimaginable that we've reached the milestone of 208 episodes. It's been a blast, though. If any of you have been watching us since the beginning, you know that we started the podcast during the COVID 19 pandemic, and we started it as a platform to inform and educate people about COVID 19, everything that was going on with it, and all the myths that was surrounding it. But we decided that there's so much more to talk about, and we've kept the discussion going. So we are super excited to start our fifth year, Tyrone. 5 years. Of course, we can't do this alone without our behind the scenes technology expert, Tyrone Jackson. How are you doing this evening, Tyrone?
I am doing well, Miss Jocelyn. How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Yes, absolutely. Happy New Year. Still, it's January 6th, so it's still okay to say that, right? Now, if it was January 26th, I'd be like, enough already, Tyrone. It's okay. But you're right. Happy New Year. And we're super excited to have, let me pause for a second on Pause for the Truth and say that my co host, Dr. Rogers Kane, will be joining us shortly. As many of you know, he is a practicing family physician and he had a busy day today. So, there's a lot of flu bugs, the flu bug, and all those other bugs that are out there. So, it's still important that we protect ourselves. If you haven't gotten your flu vaccine, don't forget to get it. And if you are eligible, get the COVID 19 vaccine as well as the RSV vaccine because people are getting infected and getting really sick. Joining us again and again and again and again, and that's because she has a wealth of knowledge, is our resident registered registered and licensed dietitian, Miss Linda Lockett Brown. How you doing this evening, Linda?
I am wonderful and glad to be here.
And happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you.
So tonight, Linda's going to help us. We're going to talk about nutrition myths. We want to know what the real results are, and we want people to fuel their body with facts and goals that actually stick. Linda, Dr. Kane and I tossed around. Should we start the year off with talking about those those dreaded resolutions, or should we just talk about a subject that impacts our lives in so many ways? A friend of mine said years ago, after their spouse had a massive heart attack, carbs are the devil. And I never looked at carbs that way until that experience. And so tonight, I want to start out, Linda, by first asking you, before we get into this, tell our listeners about your journey. What led you to become a registered dietitian and wellness educator?
It was actually my father becoming diabetic when I was probably 8 years old.
Mm.
And it was such a traumatic experience for the whole family because we talk about people being obese, and daddy wasn't like obese. He had a little belly, but he wasn't like some folk. And I remember my mother getting that diet sheet and she went, "Fine, we'll all eat it." So, what we thought the diabetic diet was when I was a little kid, that's what I grew up eating. And my father did not get any instruction on what to eat until after I had finished grad school and I
Wow.
became his dietitian. But what I saw I actually didn't major in dietetics at first because the way it was presented was just pulling a diet sheet out of a drawer and giving it to someone. And I thought, you don't need a degree to do that. So my degrees are actually in food science, which has been very, very useful. I didn't actually major in nutrition until I went to grad school, but having degrees in food science helps me understand what is going on inside your body with the food. So I know it from the molecular level, but I also know it from the industry level and what it is that the industry is trying to do. And it's not in your favor.
I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna go off track just a second and say that no, let me before I move ahead, just want to comment on that. I think about, and I've shared over and over again, my background is a health educator. And I know over the years, intellectually, Linda, I don't care how much I know. When I go to a grocery store or to a restaurant, intellect does not kick in. So I want us tonight to talk a little bit about culture, but let's move into when people hear nutrition, they feel overwhelmed or judged. Why do you think food has become such an emotional topic?
Because it is. Seriously, when you think about the way humans behave, when you're happy, they give you something to eat. You get good grades, they give you something to eat. You have a bad day, they give you something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You go to college, and I went to University of Florida. So when you have a bad day, you go and you get drunk. But for some people, when you said earlier that carbs are the devil, there are people who are addicted to sugar. It is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I noticed when I first went into practice is people would come in my office with their arms folded. You know how you would just totally disgusted? That's the way they would come in my office, and I'd say, "You've seen a dietitian before, haven't you?" And they'd go, "Yes." I said, "I'm not like that." And so when I was in school, the way that we were taught to teach clients, I knew in grad school that I was not going to do it that way because it was too hard, it was too complicated, and if it's too hard and too complicated, people can't do it. And they may try it for a day and then they basically check out. They
Yeah,
basically check out.
yeah.
So I just knew I'm not going to do it that way. I'm just not going to do it that way. So I haven't.
And I think that having met you while I was during my time at the health department, I can remember that. But one thing I said recently to Linda is her reputation preceded her because I never told her this, and I'm not going to tell you who said it though. But when I was looking for a registered dietitian, someone actually recommended you, and they said that you were the best. You were super smart, and I was like, okay, well, I trusted that person's judgment. It was a colleague, and so I went with Linda. And as you all know, if you've listened to Pause for the Truth, you've seen Linda on over and over again. That's because, as she said, she majored in food science. So think about that. It's more than just what we should and shouldn't eat, but she can tell you what the effect that it has on our bodies. So in your professional experience, what's the biggest misunderstanding people have about healthy eating?
Ooh, the list is long. But I would say the biggest misunderstanding is that it's difficult. And sometimes it is difficult depending on what condition you're trying to deal with. But as I think about it, people are juggling so much. I remember when all three kids were at home, there were times when we would stop on the Matthews Bridge over in the emergency lane, trade children, and then continue. And
Mhm.
we had people in gymnastics and football and band and swimming and so you have folks that if you punch a time clock and your boss decides when you come and when you leave, that automatically limits the time that you have to put into thinking about what you're going to eat. So the way around that is planning. But if you were not taught to plan, I mean, I had the benefit of having a mother that was very organized and very structured. And you knew it, you could say 9 o'clock, you knew what mother was doing. 10 o'clock, you knew what mother was doing. Not everyone has the benefit of that kind of home life. So when they're thinking about, okay, I got to pick the kids up, I need to take them over here, and oh, I forgot to take the chicken out, so it's still frozen, and we got to go to practice, and we need to be there by 7. So what am I going to do to put this meal together? I would say that's the biggest challenge.
So thank you, Linda. So let's talk about myths, right? I say let's bust some myths. And I think you have
Okay.
you created a list of myths. Can we go through those?
Yeah, I have 10. Let's see.
Tyrone, is that something one of you will pull it up? Because I have my own little cheat sheet. Because my first question was going to be, what's one nutrition myth you hear almost every day?
Well, the list is long. The list is long. But interestingly enough, myth number 1 is that carbs are bad. Not all carbs are bad. Not all carbs are bad. Now, I want you to think about a bran muffin, and I want you to think about a donut. Now, in reality, the calories are about the same, but what they do in your body is different. So when you think about carbs, the ones that we really want to run from are in the category of simple carbohydrates. So we're talking sugar. And so I have a glass of orange juice, that glass of orange juice is 12 teaspoons of sugar. This pie is about 20 teaspoons of sugar. The nice little thing that came from the ice cream store, probably about 20 teaspoons of sugar. 12-ounce can of soda, 12 teaspoons of sugar. 16-ounce bottle, 16 teaspoons of sugar. So if you were able to consume sugar in moderation, you'd actually be okay. But the way the food industry formulates things, moderation almost does not exist. It almost doesn't exist. And so we know that sugar in its simple form stimulates the same receptors in the brain as cocaine and heroin. So
Wow.
what does that mean? It means that if you, and it's not everybody, but it's pretty much everybody, if you do something habitually, you do get addicted. So addiction to sugar is a real thing. So when you think about sugary foods, so you're not just getting sugar, you're getting fat, you're getting a bunch of calories, you're not getting any fiber, you're not getting any protein or a significant amount. That spikes your insulin levels. And when your insulin goes up, guess what? You want to eat more. So that's technically the definition of an addiction.
So
So
now I
that's
know why I eat the whole bag of cookies instead of one or two.
That's right. Because you actually, it raises serotonin in your brain and it makes you deliriously happy for 20 minutes. And then what happens? You want more. You
Wow.
want
Wow.
more.
But Linda, something you mentioned though, or either on the screen before that, if you could go back one screen, I think about, and I told people when I learned the number of teaspoons that are in of sugar that are in a canned drink, I used to tell people, I actually got a 12-ounce glass when I was a practicing health educator, and I would bring packets because I'm not walking around with a 5-pound bag of sugar, but I would get a packets of sugar and have a glass of
Mhm.
water. And I would tell people add 12, 12 of these packs of sugar in there. And they were like, oh no. I was like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's
Right.
how many, that shows you how many teaspoons of sugar are in a glass of a can of soda rather. But how about diet sodas or those sodas that say sugar free or whatever? Are they any better or not really? Do they have something else in there that still stimulates you like that?
They don't have the sugar, but what they do is they do some things in the background that you don't even notice, like damage your kidneys and
Mm,
take calcium out of your bones. And when you take calcium out of someone's bones, what actually happens is their blood pressure goes up. So when you think about a lot of the people that I call it, it seems like it comes in threes. The patients that are diagnosed with diabetes are also diagnosed with hypertension, and they're also diagnosed with elevated cholesterol. So it all goes together. It all goes
wow.
together. So I try to get people away from the bubbly altogether. Just if it bubbles, keep going.
Wow, and drink that water, huh? So what's the
Drink the
next
water.
myth? What's the next myth, Linda, that people are confused about?
The next myth is that the keto diet is healthy.
Mm,
Now you think about Framingham, you remember when Framingham came
mhm.
out and we're telling everybody, okay, you need to decrease your intake of saturated fat. The Framingham study results are still valid. So then we have some folks saying, well, you can go on a ketogenic diet and get 70% of your calories from fat. Hold on. So what happens is if the person does lose weight, I mean, how many strips of bacon can you eat? How many steaks can you eat? How many eggs can you eat? So you
All right, let
actually
me
end
jump
up,
in there. I can eat a lot.
okay, but you're special. So we've already determined that. But when you do a ketogenic diet and you're getting most of your calories from fat, you're doing two things. You are giving your body a lot of free radicals to process, and you are not giving your body the the fruits and vegetables that are needed to negate or counteract those free radicals. So you're not eating what protects you, but you're eating a lot of what can harm you. So the keto diet is not healthy. In the short run, okay, you could do it for a little bit, but in the long run, not at all.
So
Not
it's
at
not a
all.
way of life. I
No,
know
it's
some
not.
people do it all the time.
It should not be a way of life. And really, I'm glad you brought that up because when I do meal plans for people, I don't call them diets. They're not diets. They're a way to eat, and the way is balanced, and you can follow that for the rest of your life. And if you're trying to lose weight, when you get to your goal weight, you just add one carb and you stabilize. But you don't, it's not something you start and stop. It's a way that you actually eat.
A way of life. Welcome, Dr. Kane. How are you this evening? You're on mute.
Audience and the guest for being late, but it's one of those days. Hey man, I'm busy. So hey
Yeah,
man.
I shared that. I shared that with you. Welcome, Dr. Kane. Linda is going through some common myths with us. Linda, what's the next myth?
Okay, the next myth is The next myth is actually kind of two of them. Both of them relate to diabetes, but here are the myths. Eating carbs causes diabetes. Eating carbs does not cause diabetes. It is a part of the excess calories, but related to that is if you are diagnosed with diabetes and you only eliminate sugar, your diabetes will not be controlled. It won't be controlled. So when we're talking about diabetes, we're talking about all calories. All calories matter. Now, we do focus on the sugar because sugar will raise your blood sugar the most and it raises it the quickest. So we do focus on that, but you really have to look at calories from all sources when you're controlling diabetes.
That's why registered dietitians say you need to eat a variety of foods. You shouldn't focus all of your eating on one category of food. That's just what I've always heard. Don't eliminate foods. It's everything is in moderation, I'm assuming.
Well, I like to think of it as balance. You want to balance.
Yeah.
And so the risk factors for type 2 diabetes, the number one risk factor is genetics. I mean, both of my parents were diagnosed at some point in their life with type 2 diabetes. That makes my personal risk close to 100%. And so far, we're doing good. We haven't been diagnosed, but genetics is a bear. So you want, with all of this, you want to look at the people in your family, your parents, your brothers and sisters, even your cousins. If they're blood relatives, you want to pay attention to what diseases they struggle with, because whatever they struggle with, you are at risk for. So if you, as I call it, pick the wrong parents, then you have to be extremely careful about not eating too many calories from all sources. And then what I've noticed with my clients, they can change what they're eating more easily than they can start moving. And so physical activity is just a part of it. And so whatever you can move it. You might have lost the ability to move some parts, but whatever you can move it. And so really what we're looking at for control is we're looking at decreasing body fat. So having excess body fat is a trigger. And so decreasing body fat helps in control.
And, talking about physical activity, there are so many ways to help you track your movement. There are smart watches and things like that. And then even options for people with different fitness levels in terms of doing chair exercises, chair yoga. Tai Chi has been popping up a lot in my Facebook feed as an option. All these folks are saying, are you 60 and over? This is something that's good for you. So I like that we have different options. What's myth number 4, Linda?
Myth number 4, cow's milk is bad. There's some folks that talk about cow's milk like like you were saying, carbs were the devil. There's some other folks that talk about cow's milk like it is the devil. I understand what the concern about cow's milk is. If you're lactose intolerant, I get that. And there's concerns about commercially produced cow's milk where, there's white blood cells, basically pus in the milk. I get that. But if you can get organic milk, that is not a problem. And I am big on cow's milk because the cow's milk has calcium and magnesium, and it has the right acidity level to actually get the calcium in your bones. And one of the things that protects you against high blood pressure is actually calcium and magnesium. So where
Oh,
do you
wow.
get that? You get it from milk from a cow. And then I have a lot of clients that they have trouble with their teeth or have trouble with their gums. And they're if you gave them a piece of meat to get protein, they couldn't even chew it. But
Hmm.
if they're not lactose intolerant, they can drink a glass of milk and have a ready source of protein. So I understand the concern about traditionally done cow's milk, but if you can get organic, that is a non-issue. So what a lot of folks have done says, well, we're not going to drink that stuff. We're going to do almond milk. We're going to do oat milk. We're going to do coconut milk. When you do that, you're getting a different set of problems. And the problems are listed here on the screen. So what they tried to do with most of these alternative milks is they want to make it feel like milk from a cow. So in order to do that, they have to add a lot of gums. So you'll see these gums, gellan, guar, xanthan, locust bean. Most of the gums that are added, and I should have put carrageenan, that's one of the bigger ones. Those gums actually damage your intestines.
Wow.
So it's a slow process, but they damage your intestines. They change those good bacteria that we always talk about. Some of the good bacteria die off in the presence of these gums. So, of course, you want it to taste good. So you add sugar to it, or maple syrup, or dates, and whenever you see natural flavors on a label, it is always suspect because you don't know what they added. And they can say natural flavors and it's all legal. And then they add some oils because you have to add the oil to get that mouth feel so it feels like cow's milk. And I'm not a fan of canola oil. Most of it is genetically modified.
Oh,
I
Linda, you're
said,
killing me. I always thought that was a good one. What should I be using, Linda? Oh my goodness.
You thought
we're
what was a
gonna
good?
do
You
we're
thought
gonna do
what was
olive oil and
I
sunflower.
didn't know. I use both. I use both.
Yeah, canola is genetically modified. That's how they made it.
Jeez
But
Louise.
as I said earlier, if somebody can't chew meat, they can drink a glass of cow's milk and get some protein. The protein in these alternative milks is fairly low. It's
Yes.
fairly low. And then to make it acceptable to people like me, they threw some calcium in it. Well, the form of the calcium that was added to the milks is not readily absorbed. So, yes, you'll absorb some of the calcium, but you won't absorb it at the same rate as if you use cow's milk.
So
So
what about people who are lactose intolerant though, Linda? I know people who use these because of that reason.
Yeah. So, if you're lactose intolerant and you want to use these milks, you do have some alternatives. One is
lactate.
Lactaid, LACT-AID, where they added enzymes to it to break the lactose sugar down. There's also a milk that came from Canada, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but it is ultra filtered so that when they filter the milk, it actually takes a lot of the lactose out. Now, I have some clients that are so lactose intolerant that they can't do Lactaid, but your next alternative is hard cheese. So hard cheese is very low lactose. So if you can't drink milk, eat some
Eat
cheese, but don't eat the whole thing. Eat an ounce at a time.
Right.
When you
1
say
ounce
hard
at a
cheese,
time.
why do you call it hard cheese? Is that differentiating between shredded cheese or
You're
salt? I
talking
mean,
about a
what do you
cheese
mean?
spread.
Yeah, so it would be
Okay,
like
okay,
cheddar, Swiss,
okay,
mozzarella,
okay.
provolone versus cottage
American.
cheese.
Oh,
American is not even cheese.
Yeah.
It's a food science wonder.
It's a
But like
pasteurized product, right?
that, it's pasteurized, pasteurized food,
Yeah.
but it's
I
not
call it
cheese.
product. I don't even know if it's food. I'm scared to eat it these days. We grew up with it because we had no other choice, but
That's right. We did.
yeah.
But
Wow.
so when I say hard cheese, I'm talking cheddar, Swiss, mozzarella, provolone versus cottage cheese. So cottage cheese will have more lactose in it than cheddar cheese. So feta actually kind of counts as a hard cheese. Doesn't
Okay.
have a lot of lactose. So you have some options.
Okay. So before we're gonna pause for Linda before you get into myth number 5, and we're gonna go back to our mid-show minute. Tyrone always surprises us. Take it away, Tyrone.
It's January 6th, 2026, and this is Pause for the Truth. Today, I'm cutting through the noise on food trends and how capitalism shapes what ends up on my plate, and yours. Plant-based nuggets, lab-grown steaks, algae lattes. Sounds like the future, right? But if the future tastes so innovative, why are so many of us still grabbing ultra-processed snacks at 2 a.m.? Right now, over 8 billion people need dinner. 5 crops deliver more than half the world's calories: wheat, rice, corn, soy, potatoes. Meanwhile, ultra-processed foods can make up over half of daily calories in many rich countries. Food companies spend billions marketing sugar, salt, and fat, because those margins are sweet. Capitalism rewards what scales and sells fast. Shelf-stable, addictive, cheap, beats fresh, diverse, and local. Supermarkets pay for placement. The center aisles win space wars. Real food loses impulse battles. Farmers chase guaranteed buyers, so monocrops expand, biodiversity shrinks, and the menu narrows, even as choice explodes. Here's the twist. The same system that floods us with junk also funds big bets. Precision fermentation is making milk proteins without cows. Drought-proof grains are moving from labs to fields. Upcycled foods turn waste into breakfast. But these wins reach plates only when profit and policy line up. So what actually changes what we eat? Price signals, taxes, subsidies, and true costs for water and carbon. Access, fresh options within 10 minutes, not 40. Default choices, better school meals, smarter vending, simpler labels, demand with teeth. I buy foods that pay growers fairly and cut waste. And I tell my store, I'm not anti-market, I'm anti-misaligned incentives. If profit rewards nourishment, not just novelty, the trend becomes dinner for everyone. Pause for the truth. Capitalism isn't the chef, it's the menu designer. Let's rewrite the menu.
Wow. That's
I love
powerful,
that.
man. Yeah,
But-
that's very powerful. Dr. Kane, I know that's right up your alley, right?
Yeah. I mean, what Linda's saying, thanks to Linda and her insights that she, little nuggets that she gives me in terms of how to deal with, talk to my patients. Of course, I can't talk to them as well as she can because I don't have the full spectrum of knowledge that she does. But, with those things, and it's like, okay, let me see somebody who knows what they're talking about. I can tell you what my stomach says, but by the same token, I mean, it's like lactate and what you said about lactate milk, they have some milk with lactate already added, but you also have tablets that you can probably increase the amount of lactate, more or less, increase the amount with those capsules, and then you be able to engage in much more frequent cow's milk intake. Okay. Sometimes you just got to talk with your primary care doctor and see what you can try to figure out that might work for you. Of course, then I phone and call Linda and go like, okay, so does this sound okay?
Dr. Kane, one thing Linda talked about at the beginning when I was asking her how did she get involved in this, she talked about her family experience, but she also talked about that her major was actually food science. So she really knows, the science behind food. and added the, the nutrition education piece of it, if you will. And so this has been good discussion. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about those common myths that people have about food and eating and dieting, and those words that we don't like using. As Linda said earlier, she likes to consider the things that we eat not a diet, but our meal plan, the way of life of eating, and not just looking at food as the devil. As I said earlier, someone told me that carbs were the devil. I think there's just so much misconception about good carbs versus bad carbs, and why try to figure it out? Check your insurance, your health plan, and see if going to a dietitian is an option. And if it's not, we pay for these all sorts of things. Fit that in your budget. You may not need to go forever, but give yourself a good jump start this year, and look for a licensed registered dietitian like Linda. Take it away, Linda.
Wait, before you go any further, JT, there are ways. I'm talking to the practitioners out there. There are ways that we can, when your insurance plan doesn't cover what you need. I ain't saying what you want, but when it doesn't cover what you need, there are ways that, as a primary care physician, we can assist patients. Not that you're doing in terms of how to still get that advice from Linda, okay? And because she winds up being a significant part of my practice when I'm trying to sit back and plan diets for patients. And we have people, these different insurance companies expecting this kind of outcome, a certain type of outcome with certain patients, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. But then you don't give me the tools, all the tools that I need as a primary care provider to be able to provide that information to my patients. And they want to do the cheap way out and expect me to advise them on it. And it's like, okay, well, that's like, well, I won't say what I want to say, but that is like not really doing that's like doing the patients a total disservice. So I have to go to, and I've told them, and one of the people that have been receptive to it to a degree has been Florida Blue. I go ahead and call that out. That look, I can't get this done by myself. I wear so many hats, but I can do the pharmacist hat if I had to, but I cannot do the dietitian or nutritionist hat, whatever you want to call us. I cannot do those, and I need assistance. So if you want your patients to do better, allow us to utilize dietitians, to whatever extent we need to utilize in our practice, and make sure you pay for it. Otherwise, you pay for it on the back end when these patients sit, go in the emergency room, and do all that other crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, we also have to add the politics, Dr. Kane, as you mentioned. On the news nowadays, there's so much discussion about people. They realize, because of all the politics behind health insurance, people have dropped their health coverage, and so we're probably going to see more people utilizing the emergency room as their healthcare coverage, and that's terrible. So really look for folks like Linda who can help you, where you don't always have to rely on so many medications to help you manage your diseases. Sometimes it's simple about, just making those changes. So there's a comment on the explosion of protein supplements. Oh my goodness, when I tell you they've been putting protein on everything, I'm like, what in the world? What's that all about, Linda, other than commercialism?
It's mainly commercialism, but the food manufacturers understand that people are beginning to gain an awareness of the emptiness of their products. So you're eating the product because it tastes good. You're not eating it because of nutrition. So they go, okay, we'll just throw some protein in here, and that will give it some more nutritional value. But there's a concept. It is possible that if you stacked up a lot of different products that had protein added that you could get too much.
Yeah.
Even with young people, with some of those athletes, they were drinking so many protein shakes and adding protein powder to their smoothies and their beverages that it overloaded their kidneys. That does not happen often, but it can happen. So what the food manufacturers are trying to do is say, oh no, this is not junk food. Look at how much protein you get from it. So protein is being touted as harmless. Protein is certainly helpful, but protein in large amounts, it's not harmless. It's not harmless. So what you would not want to do is give your children a bunch of different processed foods just because they had protein added. If you get there's this thing called the food matrix. So if you say ate an egg, your body has the ability to sequentially get those amino acids out of that protein. If you took the same amount of protein as a protein powder, then your body has lost the ability to sequentially and systematically remove the amino acids because you took it out of the matrix. So I would say adding protein to processed foods is more marketing than it is nutrition.
Let me
what about
say this,
those
Ms. Turner, before you
vitamins then?
ask. Let me say just a couple of things I really want to get into. So sometimes I get these people that come in and they have this, they talk about protein, they're doing a doc, I'm in the gym and I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And they want to add creatine to their supplement. They want to do protein to the supplement. Then I'm looking at their kidney function and it's plummeting. It's like, what the hell is going on? Excuse my language, but it's like, well, what is going on? And then when I get into more detail and find out from them that they're doing these supplements, it's like, stop. Okay. They stop, their kidney function go back to normal, and definitely it improves. That's one. Two, I think we see a lot of protein supplements being recommended, not balanced protein supplement, being recommended with the whole new craze as far as GLP-1s, the Ozempic and Wegovy, and they're one of the things you do want to do is increase your protein, but not from protein powder. It should be more from a natural, like she said, kept within the matrix, a natural presentation of protein. I see a lot of that coming through the clinic and it's destroying their kidneys. I stopped the protein, creatine as well, okay, which is part of the protein complex. I stopped that and their kidney functions go back to normal because I catch it early enough. But if they stay on it long enough, it may wind up permanently affecting their kidneys. So sorry, Mr. Turner, I had to throw that in.
So it's becoming common.
I'm sorry, Linda. It also made me think about a discussion that I had with some folks the other day talking about collagen, and I put it in the thing, collagen biopeptide protein. So there's just so much out there, and people are like, well, it make my hair grow, make my skin look better, and all. I don't know. It's just all so confusing. Go ahead, Linda, with what you're going to say.
Good in a casket. Talking about making your hair grow and skin look better. You can look good in a casket as you die from kidney failure.
Well, what it means, if you take collagen, which isn't even a complete protein, and your hair grows better, what it means, you were deficient to begin with. That's what that really means. And so with the concern right now with the collagen supplements is that they're contaminated with lead. So if you, not all of them, but many of them are. So if you were going to do that, you would need to get a supplement that has been third-party tested to make sure that there's no contamination. But what would be even better, eat an egg. Eat an egg. It's very simple.
Wow.
They start complaining about
Wow.
cholesterol in the egg, but you can manage that. One egg and that cholesterol ain't adding all. I mean, that one egg ain't adding all that to your cholesterol. I can't eat no eggs no more. It's like, okay, why not? You need those eggs for your protein supplementation. But
Well, I
Wow.
can give you an even better reason to eat an egg. You don't want Alzheimer's or dementia. And there are some substances in the yolk that help keep those neurons healthy.
yeah,
So we're not going to do like one of the misses. Well, we did the keto already. You're not going to be eating 6 eggs. So no, you're not going to do that. But one egg, a lot of benefits. A lot of benefits.
Wow. Okay, Linda, what's the next myth?
Okay. Myth number 5.
Mm.
Reduce calorie free, reduce fat, processed foods are better. No, they're not. And here's why. You know what folks do? You said, oh, I had some no sugar added Bluebell. The carton said the serving size is a half a cup. Well, since it's no sugar added, I'm going to eat a cup, or I'm going to eat 2 cups. So what I see folks doing is, because it's reduced calorie free, they're eating more of it. So honestly, if you were going to eat some ice cream as a treat occasionally, you can buy Haagen-Dazs in a 2-ounce cup. 2 ounces, little teeny weeny cup. Not much to it. Still too many calories, not much to it. But I would rather you close your eyes, take that little teeny spoon that comes with it, close your eyes and enjoy every lick of it. But when you're done, you're done.
that's it.
Wow. Wow. That's just,
You
I'll
know,
tell you what.
I had a friend, God bless the dead, but I had a friend that used to advertise Uncle Bob's water, low calorie. Now, for those who don't understand, water has no calories in the first place.
Right.
But his marketing attempt, it was great. So like, Bob, what the hell is this? No calorie. You know good and well, water doesn't carry calories anyway. But he said, hey, it's marketing, advertising, yada yada.
Yeah. And so when you see these terms, it's more marketing than it is nutrition. Because here's the reality. You have 3 sensors on the tip of your tongue. And those sensors are looking for fat, salt, and sugar. So if you take fat out of a product, they're either going to add sugar or add salt. If they take salt out of the product, they're going to add fat. So if you take a component out, you got to put something else in there, or it tastes like the box.
Also, we got to do the smell issue. I mean, you know, what is the rule of thumb is 90% of taste and smell. So
Yeah. So the bottom line is, with my clients, what I've seen is when they focus on these products, they actually gain weight. They don't lose weight.
mhm.
So I would rather you eat the original food in the right amount.
Can't go wrong with doing that, right?
Nope.
I think eating it in the right amount is probably the hard part. So myth number 6 is everyone has parasites. There are folks running around Jacksonville right now telling people everybody has a parasite. You need to take this cleanse so that you can get the parasites out of your body. Everyone does not have parasites. Having said that, if you traveled out of the country, you might have a parasite depending on which country you went to. If you are from a foreign country, you might have a parasite. So how would you know to even have this checked? So who I would be looking at, and I've had a couple of patients, actually it was a whole family that did have parasites, but the hallmark was they had problems with their stomach for years, not just a small amount of time. It was years. And so their primary care doctor had run all the appropriate tests. The test came out negative. They were on all these medications. The medications didn't help. And these folks had been ill for many years. And they hadn't been out of the country, but what they were doing is buying their vegetables and fruits from a Caribbean market. So I said, well, let's get you tested. And lo and behold, the whole family was positive for parasites. But my point is that does not justify large numbers of people taking supplements that are going to cause diarrhea. And so they go, oh, I'm cleaning out my system. Well, you may be on your way to the ER from dehydration, but everyone does not have parasites. So that is a myth.
One of the concerns I have, and since you mentioned it, Linda, is that.
Dr. Kane, can you pause for a second and let
Go ahead.
let Linda change the slide. That picture was just gross. Go ahead.
I thought it was a lobster, to be quite frank with you, but okay.
That's why I picked it. This is a pretty gross picture, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of gross. Yeah, you gotta watch what you eat. One of the things that I hear a lot of people talk about is two things that I'm looking at. When you are going in the fruit sections in the grocery store and you start looking at where these foods are produced and they're in non-USA countries, if people worry about the bacteria content, the parasitic content, yada, 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 anything you can enlighten the audience on as far as that is concerned, Linda?
There is one country that it begins with an M. If it comes from that country, I just keep going. But it really depends on what the country is. So I actually am on a notification feed where if there's an outbreak of something, I'll get notification of it. And there's some countries that you don't hear any problems from, like Peru and Chile. Don't hear any problems from those countries. But some countries to the south of us, there are problems. So I do something that, the USDA says they don't recommend. But if I'm going to wash a fruit or a vegetable, I actually use a really small amount of Dawn dish detergent. We're talking like just a drop to a whole thing of water. And you say, well, why would you do that? I do that because it has this thing in it called a surfactant. Yeah. And when it comes in contact with the surface of the fruit or the surface of the vegetable, whatever is on there is going to slide off. That's what surfactants do. So that's what I do. The USDA says don't do it. But I mean, it's not like I got a sink full of bubbles and putting the fruits and vegetables in there. But you want to wash the fruit. You want to wash the vegetables. If you have someone in your family that's immunocompromised, that person should not be eating raw vegetables. All of their vegetables should be cooked. So most of us, if we have a decent immune system, our body can handle small challenges. But if someone is immunocompromised, then all bets are off. So they need to eat cooked vegetables, and then the fruit that they eat would need to be one that has a peel that you can peel off, like in a tangerine or an orange. So a bit of concern, but
I encourage my patients to even wash off the orange or the
oh yeah,
tangerine
absolutely,
because they got all the pesticides and other stuff accompanying it.
absolutely.
Also, when it comes down to stuff like grapes, and you can tell me on the validity of this, stuff like grapes and strawberries, some people say, hey, add a little vinegar to the water, and it may cause some of those creatures to emerge from the fruits or the vegetables.
Well, what vinegar does is, because it's acidic, it will actually kill some bacteria that are on the surface. It'll actually kill them because they don't. Most bacteria don't like acid. They just don't. And so you just want to be sure to rinse it really well. It's all about the rinsing, and we got a new faucet, and I love my little sprayer, and I can just spray to my heart's content. So I'm trying to use friction to get rid of some of it. And we for Christmas this year, we actually had greens out of our own garden, and we had sweet potatoes out of our own garden. I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, I had a bunch. Linda, before we end the show, can you go quickly through the other myths?
Sure. So number 7, everybody should detox regularly. That is false. It is false. Your liver is what detoxes your body. So you want to keep your liver healthy. Your liver will detox you. You don't have to. What these folks are doing is causing a severe osmotic diarrhea. And then people go, oh, I lost 8 pounds. You lost 8 pounds of fluid. That's not a good idea. So myth number 8, thin people are healthy. So if you listen to the news last week, you know that there's a body that's saying we need to do more than the BMI because the BMI is inadequate. We need to do waist measurements and hip measurements and do a little calculation for the ratio. So I'm sure all the primary care folks already know that if you are of certain ethnicities, like Indian or Asian or American Indian, the numbers that are supposedly a normal BMI, at those BMIs, you are at risk for type 2 diabetes. So thinness does not necessarily equate with health. And so the fat that we're concerned about is belly fat, that fat right behind your navel, the visceral fat. That's the one we're concerned about. And so number 9 is people with diabetes can't eat fruit. People with diabetes can eat fruit, but it's all about the portion size. So my clients say, I can't eat grapes. How many grapes did you eat? I ate a bunch, the whole bunch of grapes.
Literally.
That is too many. So if you're diabetic, you can eat fruit. It's all about the portion size. And then last but not least, clean eating is healthier. Well, it might be if you could find a definition. There is no accepted definition of what clean eating is. And my clients will say, oh, I eat clean. And I'll say, what does that mean? And I get a different answer every time.
Every time. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I want to just end with what's reasonable. So here's some reasonable things that you can do rather than setting these lofty resolutions for 2026. Here's the first one. Cook at home. on most days of the week. If you're cooking the food, you're controlling what's in it.
Yeah.
The next one, find a physical activity that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to do it. So it can be dancing, it can be yoga, it can be walking, whatever floats your boat, do it. And when you go shopping, you want to fill your basket with lower calorie foods, not those lower calorie processed foods, literal lower calorie foods. So we're talking vegetables. So you want to eat and snack from the food groups. And so people usually looking at me cross-eyed at this point, and I'll say, just every week, try a new food, just every week, and you will be delightfully surprised.
Yeah.
And so you want to honor the portion size. Just because it's on your plate, it doesn't mean you need to eat the whole thing. So honor the portion sizes. And so what should a meal look like? This is what a meal should look like. 2 to 5 ounces of lean meat. So the women are going to be down on the 2 to 3 ounce end, and men are going to be on the 5 ounce end, but that is not a 12-ounce steak. So 1/3 of a cup of rice or pasta. Have a cup of green leafy vegetables, and I'm talking in one meal. Have a cup of, and that should say a yellow non-starchy vegetable. It shouldn't say starchy, it should be non-starchy. And then what do you have for dessert? Have a half a cup of fruit with 3/4 of a cup of yogurt. And if you get the Chobani Madagascar vanilla and put some blueberries or blackberries or raspberries in it, if you close your eyes, it'll taste like ice cream. I've done it.
I got
And
closed
then-
real tight.
And I only berry I eat a strawberry, so I'm already
Well,
messing up.
you can put strawberries in there. It doesn't matter, whatever berry turns you on. And then the last thing is eat one meatless meal a week. That'll save you on your food budget, and you will increase your nutrient intake. And you can go to this website, meatlessmonday.publichealth.jhu.edu, and they have hundreds of recipes. And everything on the screen is meatless.
Wow. So Linda, we had a couple of questions. Thank you. Those are great.
Okay.
What about baking soda solution for, I guess that means for cleaning your fruit? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that works fine too. You're just changing the pH.
So what are you doing? Dropping a teaspoon or something in the water?
It's actually the amount that you put is actually on the box.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
another question about using taking metformin as a way of controlling diabetes and its correlation between cancer. Do you know anything about that, you or Dr. Kane?
In my way of thinking, metformin is a good drug. Now, there have been some problems with the supply chain where there were some problems in the factory where they actually made the pills. But to my knowledge, that problem has been solved. But we have research data to show that people that take metformin live longer. There's a lot of good data about that particular drug.
And there's also good data on brain health with metformin. The other part with metformin is that when you start looking at what Linda said was absolutely correct. There were certain factories that when they made metformin, it was contaminated with whatever. It can be PVCs, polychlorphenyl, PCPs, whatever. It can be contaminated with those particular chemicals. You know, a real quick example: I remember there was one time where people was getting a whole lot of cancer-related issues to tea. I mean, that you get, I'm gonna say Lipton, but like Lipton tea, and people were getting lead poisoning. Well, like, well, what the heck
Mhm.
does lead poisoning come from? And what was actually going on at that time? China was big warehouses. They pull the tea leaves out, they lay them on the floor of the factory, and then they would drive vehicles over them so that the exhaust would dry out the tea leaves. Well,
Mm.
they used leaded gas at that time. And so the lead from the gas got incorporated into the tea leaves. And so when they
Wow.
got shipped over to us, we wound up having high lead, like it's gasoline, high lead tea.
Wow. Wow. Well, Linda, it's the end of the show. Again, you always have such a wealth of knowledge to share with our guests. Is there anything that you'd like to say as we close tonight's podcast discussion out before we have you on again?
I just like to say it is challenging to eat right, but it is not impossible. And so when Dr. Kane was talking about, finding ways for people to get to see me, I'll just tell you what I do. I make the assumption that I may never see you again. So when you leave my office after one visit, you will have your customized meal plan with, I call it a cheat sheet, with a guide so that you know what a portion size is. And so you have a pattern, you can follow the pattern. And if I never see you again, I got you off to a good start.
That's
So that's
awesome,
kind of my
Linda.
philosophy.
That's awesome, Linda. And can you tell people how to reach you?
You can call 904 276 8050. And I'm so pleased to say that we just got a contract with United Healthcare to participate on all plans, all of
Awesome.
them.
Marvelous.
So that took a year.
Congratulations. Repeat the number again, Linda.
904 276 8050.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tyrone, you've been quiet. I know you've been chiming in kind of here and there. Before we get to Dr. Kane's thoughts, you have any comment regarding tonight's discussion?
No, I just want to thank Miss Linda for coming on, always giving us overloading us with great information. So it's always a pleasure. I'm going to reserve any other comments. Linda, you've done it all. So no, nothing from me.
Great. Thank you, Tyrone. Dr. Kane, what are your final thoughts?
Okay, it's going to be short, which is unusual. Came in so late, but thank you again, Linda. I thoroughly enjoy it, like we always have our discussions, even when we have the personal one-on-one discussions. I thoroughly enjoy the knowledge that you bestow upon me. I'm learning every day that I talk to you on terms of how I can make certain things work and how other people are being dysfunctional in terms of what their beliefs are, not because they're stupid, not because it's just what's been promoted in society, what's being marketed by capitalism, and a good old cultural history where, my mama said, this is what we do. So I appreciate you coming on. We will look forward to you coming back. And again, metformin does not cause cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. As we close out today's episode, we want to first, of course, thank our incredible guest, Linda Lockett Brown, for helping us cut through the noise and bring truth to the table, literally. Tonight's conversation reminded us that nutrition isn't about perfection, punishment, or chasing the next trend. It's about knowledge, balance, and making choices that support our health in real, sustainable ways. If you've been overwhelmed by conflicting advice or discouraged by diets that didn't work, we hope you heard this loud and clear. Real results come from real information and realistic habits. We encourage you to take one takeaway from today's discussion and apply it this week, just one small step. Progress doesn't require extremes, it requires consistency. Thank you for tuning in to Pause for the Truth. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and continue the conversation by connecting with us on social media. Until next time, pause, reflect, and always seek the truth. Good evening.
We appreciate you spending time with us on Pause for the Truth. Ms. Jocelyn Turner and Dr. Rogers Kane are grateful for your support. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, catch us live on Twitch, and most importantly, subscribe on YouTube. A big shout out to Tyrone Jackson at Call Tyrone IT Services for keeping us connected. Join us every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more enlightening discussions. Thanks, and see you next week.